Welcome back to the TechGen Firewire channel. Today, we're diving deep into something really fascinating. Engineering economics.
Okay.
And guess what? Our main guide for this journey is an awesome article from LearnXYZ.
It's a field that often gets overlooked, but it's honestly the backbone of some of the most impressive projects and innovations we see in the world today.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started reading this LearnXYZ article, I was blown away by how much more there is to engineering economics than just crunching numbers.
Yeah.
It's the secret sauce that combines technical brilliance with real-world practicality.
Right.
Making sure that projects aren't just cool, but also make sense financially and actually benefit people.
Right. It's about making smart choices, ensuring that resources are used effectively, and ultimately, making sure that those amazing engineering feats we all admire are actually sustainable in the long run.
Okay, so for our listeners who maybe haven't delved into this before, let's break down what engineering economics actually is. The LearnXYZ article describes it as this bridge between technology and financial decision-making. What does that actually mean?
Yeah.
In a way that, we can all wrap our heads around.
Think of it this way. You have this amazing idea for a new invention, something that could totally revolutionize an industry, but it's not enough to just have the idea.
Right.
You need to figure out if it's actually feasible to bring it to life. That's where engineering economics comes in. It gives you the tools to assess whether your invention is not only technically sound, but also economically viable. Can you actually build it within a reasonable budget? Will it generate enough revenue to justify the investment? These are the kinds of questions that engineering economics helps answer.
It's the reality check that every brilliant idea needs before it can take off. And speaking of tools, the article highlights how engineering economics provides these practical decision-making tool. That's what I love about this field. It's not just some abstract theory. It's about giving people actionable ways to make smart choices.
And these tools are applicable in so many situations, not just for massive engineering projects. Imagine you're trying to decide between two different car models. One is cheaper upfront, but the other has better fuel efficiency. Engineering economics can help you weigh those factors, taking into account things like how much you drive, the cost of gas, and the lifespan of each car to make the most economically sound choice.
It's like having a superpower that helps you see beyond the immediate costs and benefits and make decisions that are good for your wallet in the long run.
Wow.
And it's not just about individual decisions either.
Right.
The stuff impacts entire industries and even shapes the direction
Absolutely.
of technological progress.
One area where engineering economics is having a major impact is in the realm of sustainable development. Think about renewable energy sources like solar or wind power. These technologies are crucial for combating climate change, but they also require significant upfront investment. Engineering economics helps assess the long-term costs and benefits of these projects, making sure that they're not just environmentally friendly.
That's so important.
Also financially viable.
It's about making sure that we're not just chasing after the latest shiny tech trend, but actually investing in solutions that are good for the planet and make economic sense in the long run. It's like we're talking about building a better future, and engineering economics is the blueprint.
Exactly. And the really cool thing is that this field is constantly evolving, incorporating new ideas and adapting to the challenges of our time. One of the things that the LearnXYZ article highlights is how modern engineering economics puts a big emphasis on sustainability. It's not just about dollars and cents anymore.
That's where it gets really interesting to me.
It's about taking into account the environmental and social impacts of our decisions.
It's like, how do you even begin to put a price tag on things like clean air?
It's a complex chain.
Oh, healthy ecosystem.
Oh, for sure. But there are methods and frameworks that allow us to assign economic value to those things, which then lets us factor them into our decision-making processes. For example, we can calculate the cost of pollution in terms of healthcare expenses or lost productivity, or we can assess the value of a forest in terms of its carbon sequestration potential.
It's like we're finally starting to recognize that the environment isn't just some separate entity out there. It's intricately connected to our economy and our well-being.
It's about finding that sweet spot where economic growth and environmental protection go hand in hand. And it's not just about the big picture either. These principles can be applied at every level, from individual choices to massive infrastructure projects.
You know, as we're talking about this, I'm realizing how much engineering economics is actually woven into the fabric of our daily lives. We might not always see it, but it's there, influencing everything from the products we buy to the way our cities are designed.
It's truly fascinating how this field, which might seem kind of niche at first glance, is actually shaping the world around us in so many profound ways. And for anyone who's starting to find this as captivating as we are, I highly recommend checking out the LearnXYZ blog.
That's a great tip.
At LearnXYZ-In.
Yeah, get back to our deep dive. The LearnXYZ article also dives into some of the challenges that come up when you try to put these principles into practice in the real world.
Absolutely.
It's like, as much as we'd like to have all the answers neatly laid out,
yeah,
there's always a bit of messiness and uncertainty to deal with.
And one of the biggest challenges is dealing with data limitations. To make informed decisions, you need reliable data. But in many cases, engineers have to work with incomplete or even conflicting information.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with some of the pieces missing.
It's like when you're trying to follow a recipe.
You realize you're out of a key ingredient. You have to get a little creative and figure out how to adapt.
Exactly. And that's what engineers do. They become master problem solvers, using their expertise and judgment to fill in the gaps, make reasonable assumptions, and come up with solutions that work despite the limitations.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It takes real skill to be able to navigate those uncertainties.
Right.
And still make sound decisions.
Yeah.
But, data limitations aren't the only challenge mentioned in the article. It also talks about dynamic market conditions.
Right.
And how those can throw a wrench into even the most carefully crafted ploys.
And this is something that anyone who's ever invested in the stock market or even just tried to budget for a vacation can probably relate to.
I've definitely been there.
Factors like inflation,
Planning a road trip.
interest rates,
Yeah.
and fluctuating commodity prices.
And then watching the price of gas skyrocket.
They can all have a huge impact on the accuracy of our financial predictions.
Right before you're supposed to leave.
Exactly.
Suddenly your whole budget goes out the window.
And for engineers, this kind of volatility can pose a major challenge when trying to predict the long-term costs and benefits of a project. They have to use various forecasting techniques, build in contingencies, and basically be prepared to adapt as conditions change.
It's like you need a crystal ball to predict what the economic landscape is going to look like. 5, 10, or even 20 years down the line.
Absolutely. It requires a unique blend of analytical skills, creativity, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. But when you see those carefully planned projects come to fruition, delivering real value, making a positive impact.
And speaking of insights,
it's incredibly satisfying.
The LearnXYZ article has this awesome section called Top 10 Exclusive Facts. It really digs into some of the core principles of engineering economics.
It's always exciting to delve into those key concepts that underpin this field.
Okay, so one fact that caught my eye was about the time value of money. Now, I have to admit, that phrase sounds a bit intimidating at first.
Of course.
But I'm sure you can break it down for it.
The time value of money, in a way that makes sense, is actually a pretty straightforward concept once you grasp the underlying logic.
That makes sense intuitively.
It basically means...
But why exactly is that the case?
That money you have today is worth more than the same amount of money in the future. Because money has earning potential. Think about it this way. If you have $100 today, you could invest it and potentially earn, say, 5% interest over a year. That means by next year, your $100 would have grown to $105. So having $100 right now is more valuable than being promised $100 a year from now.
It's like money has.
Because of the opportunity to grow that money through investment.
This inherent time travel capability, and it gains value as it journeys into the future.
And this principle is crucial in engineering economics because projects often involve costs and benefits that are spread out over long periods. When evaluating those projects, we can't simply treat all those dollars as if they were equal. We have to account for the time value of money by discounting future cash flows to their present value.
So it's like you're bringing all those future dollars back to the present so you can compare them on an equal footing, taking into account the potential for growth over time.
It's essential for making sound financial decisions.
That's pretty clever.
Especially when dealing with long-term projects. Now, let's jump to another exclusive fact that I found particularly intriguing.
This one really resonated with me too.
It's about life cycle cost analysis.
We're so used to focusing on the upfront cost of things.
Precisely.
But life cycle cost analysis forces us to take a step back and consider the bigger picture.
Right. It's about recognizing that the initial purchase price is just one piece of the puzzle. To get a true understanding of the cost of something, whether it's a piece of equipment, a building, or even a whole infrastructure project, you have to factor in all the costs associated with its entire lifespan.
Could you give us a real-world example?
To illustrate how this works, sure. Imagine you're a homeowner trying to decide between...
That's where things get interesting.
Yeah. Two different roofing options. One is a standard asphalt shingle roof, which is relatively inexpensive upfront. The other is a metal roof, which costs significantly more initially. Now, if you only look at the purchase price, the asphalt shingles seem like the clear winner.
But what about long term?
Exactly. Metal roofs are known for their durability and longevity. They can last for decades.
Yeah.
With minimal maintenance. Asphalt shingles, on the other hand, have a shorter lifespan and require more frequent repairs or replacements. So when you factor in those future costs, the metal roof might actually turn out to be more cost-effective over the long run.
It's like choosing between a cheap pair of shoes,
even though it has a higher upfront price tag.
but it'll wear out quickly.
Precisely.
Versus investing in a higher quality pair that will last for years. You have to think about the value you're getting over time.
Not just the immediate cost. And that's the beauty of life cycle cost analysis. It encourages us to make decisions that are financially sound and sustainable in the long run. Now, before we dive into another fascinating fact, I wanted to remind our listeners that if they're finding this deep dive as insightful as we are,
Absolutely.
they should definitely check out the LearnXYZ blog at LearnXYZ-In.
They have a wealth of information
Oh.
on engineering economics and other fascinating topics. It's a great resource for anyone who wants to expand their knowledge and explore these ideas further.
Couldn't agree more. Now, going back to the top 10 exclusive facts, there's one that touches on a topic we've already discussed, but adds a layer of complexity
I talked about
that I think is worth unpacking.
how dynamic market conditions can create uncertainty. It's about the concept of risk assessment.
And how it plays a crucial role in engineering economics.
But risk assessment takes it a step further.
Exactly. It's like having a contingency plan for your contingency plan.
It's about anticipating.
Risk assessment involves identifying potential threats or uncertainties
before they even happen that could impact a project's outcome. And then figuring out ways to mitigate or manage those risks.
So it's about being proactive
rather than reactive.
And this is especially important. It's like
in engineering projects,
instead of waiting for something to go wrong,
where the stakes are often very high,
and then scrambling to fix it.
We're talking about projects.
They're trying to anticipate those potential pitfalls
that involve massive investment
and have a plan in place to deal with them.
Complex technologies.
And potentially significant impacts on the environment and community.
It's like the bigger the project, the bigger the potential for things to go wrong. So you need a really robust risk assessment process to make sure you're prepared for whatever curveballs.
Risk assessment involves
might
come your way. Analyzing different scenarios, estimating the likelihood of each one occurring, and then developing strategies to minimize the negative impacts if those risks do materialize.
This is all so fascinating. It's a systematic way. I'm really starting to appreciate
to approach uncertainty and make informed decisions.
How much thought and careful planning,
despite the inherent complexities,
goes into these engineering projects. Like, it's not just about building something cool. It's about making sure it's built to last.
Exactly.
To be sustainable. And to minimize any potential negative consequences.
And that brings us back to one of the core principles of engineering economics. It's about making smart choices. Choices that consider not just the immediate costs and benefits, but also the long-term impacts on people, the planet,
and the economy. We're not just building bridges or skyscrapers.
I love that analogy.
We're building a better future.
It perfectly captures the essence.
And engineering economics is the compass that guides us towards that goal.
Of what this field is all about. It's about using our knowledge and ingenuity to create a world that is not only technologically advanced, but also sustainable, equitable, and prosperous for generations to come.
It's inspiring to think about how much potential this field has to really make a difference in the world. And, speaking of potential.
Oh, absolutely. The LearnXYZ article also touches on the career opportunities in engineering economics.
It's a field that's only growing in demand.
As we face more and more complex challenges related to infrastructure, technology, and sustainability, companies and organizations all over the world are looking for skilled professionals who can bridge that gap
If you're someone who loves problem solving,
between engineering and finance,
who's interested in technology, and who wants to make a real impact,
I couldn't agree more.
this field sounds like it could be a perfect fit.
And the LearnXYZ article specifically mentions countries like the U.S.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's a global opportunity.
China.
It sounds like a career path
And India.
that could take you anywhere in the world as having particularly strong job markets.
It's definitely a field for engineering economists with a lot of exciting possibilities.
Yeah. Before we wrap up this deep dive, I wanted to circle back to one more of those top 10 exclusive facts that really caught my attention.
Yes. This one is about value engineering.
It sounds like it's all about getting the most bang for your buck.
Value engineering is a fantastic approach.
But in a smart and strategic way.
To optimizing projects and making sure that every dollar spent is contributing to the overall value and functionality.
Exactly.
It's about analyzing every aspect of a project, from the materials used to the design choices, and finding ways to enhance value without sacrificing quality or performance.
Can you give us an example
of how this might play out in a real-world project?
Sure.
Let's say you're building a new hospital. Value engineering would involve looking at all the different systems and components, like the HVAC system, the lighting, the plumbing, and finding ways to achieve the same level of functionality, but with more cost-effective solutions. Maybe there's a newer, more energy-efficient HVAC system on the market that could save money in the long run. Or perhaps there are alternative building materials that offer similar performance but at a lower cost.
You're fine-tuning every detail.
Precisely.
To make sure the project is as efficient and cost-effective as possible. Without compromising on what really matters.
And that's the beauty of value engineering. It's a collaborative process that brings together engineers, architects, contractors, and other stakeholders.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
You brainstorm ideas.
I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation.
And find creative solutions.
For how much engineering economics influences our world, from the everyday choices we make to the massive infrastructure projects.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
That shapes our cities and societies.
And I hope our listeners have found it as engaging and thought-provoking as we have.
And you know, speaking of exploring further, I want to remind our listeners one last time to check out the LearnXYZ blog at LearnXYZ-In.
Absolutely. It's a great place to dive deeper and discover even more about how this field is shaping the world around us.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of engineering economics. It's been an amazing journey, and I hope our listeners have come away with a new understanding of how this field combines technical brilliance with practical decision-making to create a more sustainable and prosperous future. Now, before we sign off, I want to encourage everyone to visit www.learnxyz.in for more incredible resources. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Tech and Free Wire channel for more deep dives into the topics that matter most. Thanks for joining us.